Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you, everybody, so much for joining us on this conversation to help people learn what regeneration is all about and also what a regeneration project looks like in real life. Today, I'm so honored to have a fellow Brazilian with me to talk about his incredible projects. So, Rica, can you please introduce yourself and let us know what you're up to?
Yes, of course. Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's so very nice. It's really, really nice to be here. So glad and humble for the invitation. Thank you so much. So I'm Rica. I'm originally from São Paulo. Been living in Europe for quite a while. So I was living in Berlin for 14 years. Just moved to Lisbon for 4 months, 4 months. Came after the sun, I would say. And on over to that.
Chasing.
Exactly. The warm and the sunny. But also, so because of work as well. So I have some projects here, some projects in Berlin. So I co-founded an NGO called Positive Blockchain. Like this since 5 years with a global community where we have one of the biggest database, open source database on impact projects on blockchain um, around the world. We build like write papers, make ships, events, all in between. I'm a co-founder also of a project or a node from Refi in Lisboa, near in Lisboa, that is a part of the Refi DAO. Also a global community that's like nodes all around, and we do different events here and trying to develop also different projects that goes beyond events. We have now a project that we've been developing. Oh, you're the first one to hear that, but we're developing a project that will deal with water credits and how to incentivize the better usage of water, and also let's say that give people or communities from where this water is coming from also some benefits of sharing the water. And besides that, also I have another project called Regeneration, where we focus on sustainable or regenerative affordable housing, so real estate, regenerative tourism, and regenerative agriculture, and that goes from a hub, as you said, that goes from putting people together that does this kind of project, helping them, fostering investment, innovation, and connections. Also in the process of developing an incubator for this kind of project. So because we see a lot of projects that like our incubators that is all about tech, right? We want to do something that is not directly rich. Of course, I come from blockchain, all this tech things. Of course, we want to have a very big part of it, but we also want to give support for projects that are more analogs. So this way, that is more like grassroots and hands-on and mind. That is also very important. Uh, yeah, that's me, I guess. And yeah, here, and I like to dance.
Love
Something with some personal stuff is already good.
That's incredible. I was also just at a party a couple days ago, and there were so many Brazilians, and Onda started playing, and I was like, this is where I'm at. So nice.
Exactly.
Well,
India.
the other thing I wanted to ask you. So you said you lived so long now in Europe. How has this transformation, this change of countries, changed you and also challenged you? What do you see that it has also potentially helped you achieve
Yeah,
differently?
I must say that I'm a completely different person when I left Brazil for sure. I do a lot to change a lot. I think it's about being open for new ways of seeing life and seeing how things are done. I think if you're open for this kind of stuff, you only grow when you get focused with the different cultures. I moved from Brazil because it was not really not so connected to the way Brazil was, or the things that were happening in 2009 in my personal life and also my professional life. I used to work in the creating strategic plans for big companies like General Motors, Unilever, and else. Not, I mean, it was fun. I met amazing people, learn a lot, but it was not really my not seeing myself doing it alone. So I moved to Europe because I want to be an artist. And that was like the great point. My life happened in different ways, but I it's still what I'm doing now. But yeah, so I think it's it's really challenging because imagine I all actually decided to move to Berlin well before I left Brazil. So it's very spontaneous as well. I'm Italian, so I didn't have problems with visa or anything. So I know I'm very much privileged. So, my journey is not the normal journey of Brazilians moving to Europe. So I was very privileged that I didn't have to care about any visas or anything else. So I just came. But I came to a place that I didn't know anyone. I could not speak the language. I just knew that someone told me that it would be a good city for me. I'm like, oh, sure. And I stayed 14 years, so the person was right. but, but I think, I think the most difficult things for me was really like, yeah, I said, like, the difference, the cultural difference, and be open to it. So it's not that, oh, I was born open to everything, it was a process. And I had like my problems with it as well at the beginning, like getting used to the directness of Germans, for example, that nowadays I treasure so much because it's very honest. But when I got there, it was about like, oh my God, am I 18 here? But I just be honest, like, oh, I don't want it. No, I won't. No, stop. Kind of like, and we Brazilians are more like, see, we talk about it, and which it's cultural differences. I think that's the most thing. Also, like work-wise, I was lucky also to be able to find or to develop projects where German was not required in the beginning. So as I could speak English already, so I just to get go, I started moving myself and doing stuff. Also worked as in a bar, in a Brazilian bar. Also in the beginning, kind of like you have to do what you got to do, and but yeah, was I think the challenge is really like just find a place and be open to seeing the world differently, and it just enriched my life so much. I can say I'm much better person now after all of this journey of meeting new people. And when you were in such a cosmopolitan city like Berlin as well, it's not only about German culture. I met people from all around the world and really good friends. You have different contacts with different cultures, and I always say that this must when you're open to the different, this makes all you grow, in your life, in your spirit, in your everything. So I think so.
Yeah, no, I love that, and I'm super thankful for you mentioning your privilege because I think that that's something that's very important, especially for anybody that's migrating from their home and understanding and being through the bureaucracy of visas and those things, especially here in Germany, how long these things take. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for kind of bringing that up. And I love seeing also your trajectory that you said, okay, I went from advertising into, okay, now you have these incredible regeneration projects. You're bringing in the tech with blockchain, but you're also thinking about grassroots, getting things done type of projects.
Mm.
What changed for you? What really made you say, okay, I actually need to do something different? And how do you think that we can help people that are maybe still in that old mindset change towards this new way that we actually need to look at the world?
Yeah. I mean, my change, I had always the personality to be towards impact. I think that's the way I grew up with my family. Also, the schools I went to when I was younger, that is like social projects or like uh, thinking about our privileges was a very much big part of my upbringing. So I always had this kind of like direction or mindset. But what changed me was, I did some different projects in Berlin, and I was kind of like helping people. So I worked with art. So I created like a stand up there with the biggest network for young artists to help them thrive. And after that, I created another project where we was kind of like local, like came for business, local brands and local communities to get matched to bigger brands and big, so kind of like, getting this flux. And I was really feeling that, okay, that's cool, but that's, I see how the world is now, how, you know, because my mindset, and that's how it comes from the whole regeneration, and where I focus on, I was like, okay, being sustainable, it's meaning that we do no harm anymore. But we did so much already. So how can we actually, change that? That's where I come from. And I went to do a master in Paris in design for social impact. That's where I kind of like jumping completely in the impact, and then got in contact with speculative design, creative, kind of stuff that I love so much. It makes me, rethink the word in system design, like rethink the word from thinking about regeneration, also technology. That's where I got in contact the first time with blockchain. And I found like some bridging with the two of them with it. And then it's what I start seeing where, things can be done. Because, even though I don't trust in our economical system, I am aware that we need where we are in this society. We all want to need to eat, to everything. So it's also the part of us saying, okay, where can we kind of like bridge this like, the system that we're needing right now to this new system, and bring people to it, that show the people that, what, you can still do something good for the environment or for people, because I think it's not all environment, it's also social. It's very well, everything is well connected. If you only think about the environment and you don't think about the social, things are not going to work, the, and how can we bridge this saying, hey, you can still make money, you can still live a comfortable life without being, you don't need to be a hippie to be in this field, and still live a comfortable life, buying your stuff, traveling. That's stuff there. Of course, I'm not gonna become a billionaire, because anyway, I don't trust in billionaires and stuff like that. So for me, it was never a point on that. You can still make good money on this, and I think I think that's how we can bring people in, because I think there's a lot of people willing to do better. We need to do something different, but they always think about charity. That's charity. That's I won't make money. I will have to be a hippie living in the forest with nothing, which is not true. If you want to, great, do it. Like full support. I'm not a person as well. I like it, but I think that's a way of showing it. That was my journey as well. Kind of like coming from whatever kind, like I said, make money fast and a lot of money, big spending, and like, okay, I make my journeys of, and realize that, okay, there is something there. And there's something that is also that I learned was like social business that people don't know so much, or what's a social business. And that this could be a base for any kind of regenerative, sustainable. I say sustainable because I know a lot of people don't know about regeneration, they don't understand what regeneration means. And so we have to meet them where they are and bring them to but, and so I see myself also explaining to people what social business are, because they think that social business are charity. And I say, no, social business are business that, make profit, but their goal is not the profit itself. It's to solve a problem, environmental problem, a social problem. So that's in an investment, in the profit is reinvested in solving this problem. Then people make money, that's the rich people around that they create social business. So it's not, as I said, it's not a hippie thing.
No, I love that. And I think that's such an important conversation as well. I don't know exactly where kind of you come from in your background, but I feel that when you're talking to maybe a migrant founder that's building their things, they don't really have that much of a safety net back to help them, right? So maybe somebody that's building something, their parents might have donated some money, or they have that support to come back on. And a lot of people are actually there. The money from Brazil is worth 5 times less than it is worth in Europe. So I can't really call my mom and say, hey, mom, I've spent all my money trying to save the world. Now, can you help me pay my rent? So I think you hit the nail right on the head there, because it's important for us to be able to self-sustain and be able to keep the lives that we want, and to travel to Brazil to see my mother, and the flights are expensive, right? And at the same time, be thinking about our own futures and how do we take care of ourselves. And I love your story, how you go from artist into technology and all of these things. What do you think is the kind of top of mind or biggest thing that people are maybe missing out that you have started working on and has really changed your way of thinking? So you now talk about water credit. So we're just
Mhm.
getting into that conversation of
Yeah.
carbon credit. So I'd love to learn about what's top of mind for you right now.
I mean, something that I think, and it's really my curiosity is really into is, as I said, is what friends, meaning like even, the idea of there are different kinds of capital. There's financial capital, money, as we know, but there's also, natural resources capital, so water, or, things that we really need to survive, or social capital, or even creating different kind of money in that is actually to things that are really important for us to live as human beings, and not only as human beings, and beings in a planet full of other beings, and then how can we connect and create a system that, because we live in a very complex society. So how can we rearrange or rethink the system that we live in a way that also preserve and think about the other beings that are co-living with us, right? So that's answer. So that's something that I'm really thinking and interested. So that's why I have this project is a very like early stage of the what I projects here in Portugal. So kind of like how can we think about it, and the carbon credits also I think it's very important, but also it makes so much like say like awareness around that as well. That's that people will be like, so yeah. So how can we rethink that stuff without doing? I mean, we learn a lot. So how can you use all these learnings to do, all the stuff as well that we need to do? That's one of the things that I've been really looking at. Also, like there's other projects that I have, like the affordable regenerative housing tourism. It's something that really interests me because I got in touch with really different ways of building infrastructure. And infrastructure is one of the most polluting industries in the world. There's so many new materials, new technologies, new things, doing things that is so amazing. And before I started working there, I didn't realize how connected real estate and tourism are. They're very codependent. Create new ways of uh, because I mean, like Portugal, like the prices of real estate went crazy. There's people there are only people with a lot of money but property because people who live in England, Portuguese people, they can't. They cannot even live in the city anymore because it's going so crazy. So can it's everything like the systems and integrating the local to foreigners or I mean, using materials that actually can to not only change wise, but also, other beings wise, and yeah, talk about a lot of stuff. I don't, am I okay?
Yeah, you're good. That's exactly it. And like you said, there's so many interconnectedness in
Yeah.
everything that we try to do, right? So it's okay, I'm building a new project here. Have I thought about the biodiversity that's around me and what that will happen to them? But also I'm building a project for tourism. How does that impact maybe the real estate or the local businesses that already exist in there? So I think when we talk so much about interconnectedness and sustainability and regeneration, that's something that actually all types of businesses should be thinking about because it really connects to what they're doing.
It's a bit of regeneration, right? Thinking
Yeah.
about systems and the interconnectivity of things or other systems, the systems
Yeah.
of systems,
Exactly.
and when you start thinking about that, I think that's the first step for thinking about regeneration, because yeah, it's not only about me and my direct circle, my direct system. Even some different systems.
Definitely.
We ourselves are a system of systems. It's a oh my god.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's a great thing that I love speaking to you and to other people is because you are thinking about that overarching theme. You're not just thinking about your work or that one project or maybe that one task that you need to do. You're okay, how does this impact this? And it's great because it seems that you are able to then link into the different projects that you're creating, right? And so it's not this linear process, it's really the surrounding work that you can do. Um, and like I told you, and I've spoken to you before, and I just want to stay here with you and talk for hours. But I want to make sure that people get interested in your work. So I was wondering if you have anything that you want to kind of share, anything that you want people to get involved, and maybe a tiny message that you want to share with everybody that's interested in regeneration and don't really know where to start. What would be your kind of final tips there?
I think, as in, speaking of the shares, so I have my own geo possible chain. We're always looking for contributors. This what the other water project said it right at the beginning, so people won't. But you can follow Rich and his bro. I will do events every month in Lisbon. So if you're around, please come by, meet new people, get to know like different projects, different approaches. It's really cool. Also check Refi out. It's really nice. Oh yes, and I'm starting a Portuguese speaking podcast for Refi now called Planeta. Any or Planeta, depending how you're gonna see it. So yes, please stay tuned for this podcast and also Regen Hub. You can check regenhub.io. The website's kind of like, because we are also kind of like trying to do things a bit more organically as well. But you're gonna see very soon everything. So please, if you're interested in this kind of stuff, you can always message me on LinkedIn as well. I'm very open to talk to everyone. You can, share my contact. I'm more than glad to talk to people and people. And the message that I would say is, when 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 you believe in something, when you see and you wanna do something better, don't give up, because you find people that can help you and support you. You're gonna be surprised how many people are there to help you and support you. That's how I started. I started like talking to people that I thought, big people that I thought like I wrote a book of some general, and then I was like, okay, and I wrote my answer. So, go after what you believe and don't give up. And because there are people like me, right, that are always there to help you approach and understanding that if we don't do something differently and we don't think about different ways of doing things, of our economic system, our social systems, we're probably not gonna last so much. So yeah, we're all part of one group of being, I don't know, I'm saying that.
No, I'm putting you on the spot here, but I love it because that's where your passion comes out and your true nature comes out. And I am so thankful for you because I also just reached out to you once. I'm like, what are you doing on Refi, and getting to know about that and your general projects that you have on Web3 as well. So, olha, muito, muito obrigada. Eu agradeço de coração mesmo for you being here. And this is just the beginning. If you know anybody else that's doing some really cool projects, please let me know. I'd love to kind of talk to them. And this is, like I said, this is just a little teaser. So we'll make sure that people learn all about your work. And if you have anything else to share, please do. Então,
Thank you.
muito obrigada.
Muito obrigado. Muito bom.
Yeah. So if you want to hear him talking in Portuguese, sotaque muito gostoso, his great accent, then stay tuned for his podcast as well. And who knows, maybe we can do version 2 of this in Portuguese next time.
Perfect. Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Ciao, everyone.